What the heck is up, everyone? It's Jacob here. Today I'm going to be doing a review of my 3D printer, the XYZprinting Vinci 1.0. I'm going to kind of give you guys like a full, in-depth review of this thing. Let you guys know my opinion. I've had it for like 2.5 weeks now, maybe 3 weeks, I don't know. So I've had a chance to play around with it. I'm not like a huge 3D printing enthusiast, but I am, a lot into this kind of technology. I am, you can see my other videos, I'm like really tech-savvy computers, electronics, crap like that. So that's where I ended up, how I ended up with this thing. But over the past few years, 3D printing has exploded. It's gone everywhere. Everyone has a freaking 3D printer. Everyone, their grandma, their dog has a 3D printer. So it's become quite big, and there's a lot of companies that are starting up, and it's becoming a huge thing. And there's a lot of companies that are trying to make 3D printers that are very easy to use, so that you don't have to be a tech-savvy person to use one. Then there's the original MakerBot, where you have to literally know you have to tweak the thing all the time and know what you're doing with it. So it's a lot more biased. It's made for the user, the technical user. So they're trying to make it so that it's basically just like a normal printer, so that anyone can have one and have a 3D printer to use. But so anyways, that's what's going on with the technology today and where they're trying to go with it. I'm gonna let you guys know everything I think about this printer, what you're gonna get for your money, the good, the bad about it, and I'll show you guys some prints I've done on it. I'll show you guys the thing actually in action, and so let's get started. That's one of the pieces I printed. Anyway, the printer itself here, it's a $500 printer. I got it on eBay for $500. I don't know what it retails for, $6, $7, something like that. I don't know. You guys go look it up on the website. It's really a good price, actually. It's a really good price for the printer. I gotta say, the printer, it looks great. It has 100 micrometer resolution. I think it's micrometer. Don't quote me on that. I think that's the units that we're talking here. Anyways, it's 0.1 millimeters. So a millimeter on your ruler is tiny, and then a tenth of that is how fine this thing can print. So it can print pretty fine. Like I said, 3D printing, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna try and bullshit. It's not my, forte. I'm not professional in this stuff. I'm not a huge 3D printing enthusiast, but I just got it because I thought it'd be cool, fun to have, and play around with it, and it'd give me something to do. So I'm not gonna try and talk really technical like I know what I'm talking about, but I know the general basics about it and stuff. So anyways, 100 micrometer, it can go up to 400 micrometers, or 0.4 millimeters in thickness on the layers, the Z-axis. So it has a wide range of resolutions. You can print it, to make it a lot more accurate print, or to make it just print faster and use thicker layers. Anyway, it prints with ABS plastic, and that's one of the first things, the downsides about this printer. So let's talk about the ups first. Let's talk about the ups first before I get into the downs, before I start downing the printer. It's a $500 printer, or I got it for $500. You can easily pick them up for $500 from Newegg, eBay, Amazon, things like that. There's also the Vinci 2.0, which has 2 extruders for 2 different colors. Really nice for the money. Like I said, it looks great. It functions perfectly. It's great out of the box. It's a great printer out of the box. I don't have to do anything to it. I can literally plug the thing in. You don't even have to hook the damn thing up to the computer. You can print an example, a test file, like this little vase thing here that stopped printing halfway through. Or, just a few, or this keychain. Where is it? This little keychain here. Let me show you guys this up close. It says XYZ on it. It's like a little keychain thing. But you can print a few things out of the box. You don't even have to hook it up to your computer. When you download the software for it and you hook it up to the computer, it's very easy to operate. Very easy. You just drop your STL in there, click print. How dense do you want the object to be, and how fine do you want it to be? What the thickness is, and it doesn't even give you the thickness. It asks you how accurate you want it to print, and that will determine how thick it makes the layers. Anyway, so it's a very easy to use software, very basic. Anyone can do it. Your grandma can do it. Your grandma who can't even send an email can probably 3D print a file on this printer. It is incredibly easy to use. So it's very easy, okay? There's not much upkeep on it. One bad thing about it is you can't fix anything on it. You can't fix anything. You can't buy replacement parts. So, if the bed cracks, the glass on the bed, or the heating element in the bed breaks, or whatever, who knows, stuff like that happens. Your extruder element goes out, whatever, or a belt, you need to replace a belt. They're all, I don't want to say they're proprietary parts, but they aren't openly available. They don't replace it. You have to send it in for them to fix it, which is kind of not, I don't like that personally, because especially a lot of people that are purchasing these printers, they're probably more than capable of servicing them and fixing small little things that might break or go bad over time. As long as you don't abuse the thing, you don't try and rip things off the bed of it, it should last a very long time without ever having to replace anything. The only thing is I could see going wrong are maybe the heating elements eventually going out. But again, there's no replacements. You might be able to go on eBay or something and find a very close part that you could put in there and it'll probably work. But and there are part numbers on everything, like the steppers and everything like that. But there's no replacements. You have to send it in. So that's the bad thing about it. One bad thing. I'm trying to think of any other goods. It's just a really good printer for the money. It prints amazing quality, a really good quality for the money. For $500, like I said, you don't have to do anything to set the thing up. You literally pull it out of the box and it prints. Less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. It's a great printer. So the bads I already explained. No replacements. The firmware on it and the software, like I said, with as easy as they are to use, it sucks. It really does suck. It's kind of like an Apple software versus an Android software. The first day I had this thing, I wiped the thing and put Repetier on it, Repetier host, and on my computer for the software, and I put the Repetier firmware on it at 1 point something, whatever the version is, or 0.91, I think is what it is, 0.91 version of Repetier software, and it is freaking amazing with that software. So why does the software on it suck? I can't just say it sucks. Why does it suck? Let me explain why it sucks. Okay, well, first off, you can do a few things in the menu on the printer itself, but not very much. I can, with the stock software that it comes with, I can move the bed manually. I can move all of the XYZ axis manually, but I can't, I don't think I can preheat it from here. I can't preheat the thing at all. So if I want to print something instantly and have it already warmed up, I think, no, there is a thing to where it can warm up while the whole time it's on, but there's no preheat button. There's so many things, I don't even know. You can't set all the settings on there, like baud rate, whatever you want to. There's so many settings in here right now that I can set that I wouldn't be able to set before. I can't set extruder temperatures. I can't set anything I want. It's all preset. And it doesn't end there. This, like I said, the firmware on it isn't so much bad. I'll explain why the firmware is bad in a second. Let's get to the interface still with the software. The software sucks. Like I said, it's very easy to use, but you can't modify anything. You can't choose densities. You can only choose from 3 different densities. It's like, hollow or semi-solid or solid or something like that. It's like, there's not even percents, or it shows percents, but it's like 30, 70, and 90% or something like that. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But with a good software, we can choose whatever density we want. We can choose whatever we want. And there's nothing you can choose when you drop your STL in there. You can't choose how it slices it. You can't choose how it generates the G-code. You can't modify the G-code. You can't do anything. It's like you put the STL file in there and just hit print. It generates the G-code. It slices it. It does everything the way it wants it to do it. You cannot tell it how to print at all. You can't set any settings how you want it to print. With Repetier host, I can say anything I want. I can say heat the extruder up to this, heat it up to this on the first layer. I can say just download Repetier host and check it out. You can say how you want it to slice, how it fills in the infill of the part. You can say to do a honeycomb or a concentric infill. You can say I want it to be 90% dense, 80% dense, whatever. I can say do the first layer on the whole print 0.4 millimeters or 0.1 millimeter, and do the rest of the layers this much. You know, I can 100% customize it, and that's how it's like comparing an Apple to an Android. You know, an Apple software, you can't really do much. It's so much easier to use. Don't get me wrong. It's great if you don't know anything about this and you just want to print something. But if you want to be able to use the printer to its full extent, you're gonna want to take the stupid firmware that's on here, the stupid software that it comes with, and download Repetier Host. And I'll probably make a video tutorial on how to do that. There is a really easy way to do it. I haven't found a video tutorial on YouTube how to do it the way I did it. There is a YouTube tutorial that's like 30 minutes long that shows like the longest way in the world to do it through the Arduino software, and it's not even very clear or anything. There is a way to do it with command prompt in like 2 minutes, literally. You can put the stock firmware back on there, you can put the Repetier Host firmware on there. It's like 2-minute process. It's so easy. So I'll show you guys how to do that probably in another video. But anyways, it's just like, I feel like they're really limiting the printer's capabilities when they put their software on there. It can do a lot, and it's amazing what it can do and what you can, you know, customize how it prints with a good firmware. With the firmware that comes with it, I feel like it's really holding me back. I can't print how I want it to print. I can't set how fast it prints. I can't tell it to go slower. I can't tell it to go faster. I can't do anything. With a Repetier Host, if I want it to go fast, I can crank that baby up and just tell it to, you know, whiz through it, and it'll take the time down by like half, you know. Sure, you may sacrifice a little bit of print quality, whatever, but if I want it to print faster, I want it to print faster. You know, with a Repetier Host, I can do that. With a stock firmware, can't do that. You don't have the option. So there's just so many little things that makes a difference as far as firmware goes. Another huge thing, this is what I hate about the firmware on here. The bad about the firmware on here, it comes with these, you have to buy these proprietary cartridges. They're like the filament in here. This is what it comes with. This is what you have to buy. Now they're about, I don't know, I want to say $30 per cartridge. Now, you know, this is 600 grams of filament. It comes, when you buy a cartridge, it comes with 600 grams of filament. And that's not that much, you know. I mean, whereas I can buy a roll like this, which a lot of you guys are used to seeing. It's a 2 kilogram roll, so 2,000 grams, and this only cost me about $20 of ABS filament right here. So, huge price difference. You know, we're getting more than 3 times the filament for about 2/3 the cost. So the problem with these are, and you know, I can understand why they do it. It generates a revenue for them, you know. Once I buy the printer, they're not getting any more revenue. They got everything they got. But if I want to print on this thing, I have to keep buying their cartridges, so which means they're going to keep getting revenue, right? And so that just keeps a way for them to generate revenue. But I think it's kind of selfish of them. I think it limits their buyers. A lot of buyers might see this and not want to buy it because it has these proprietary cartridges. Again, it's proprietary. It's XYZprinting that makes these things. And you're thinking, well, can't I just refill the thing? Well, no, because it has a little chip in here, a little computer chip. I actually took it out of this one. I got it right here, actually. It's this little chip here, and it actually logs. It's kind of like an odometer in your car, if you will. It logs how much filament you have used in this chip. So what it does is, I think it's like a little EEPROM chip or something, and it tells the printer what kind of filament you're using, the temperature, everything like that. But it also, the printer tells this chip how much filament it's using. That way, when this roll runs out, when this cartridge runs out of filament, if you were to refill it, this chip would already say, this cartridge has already been used 100%. You can't refill it, you know. The chip will say no more. And in that case, you can reset the chip, which means you'd have to take this entire thing apart, pop it apart, reset the chip, and that's even a kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass process itself, but it is possible. And then you can reuse it. So it's just kind of things like that that I don't really like, you know, with a stock firmware. It's not as easy to use as just, oh, I want to throw a roll of this on the extruder, boop, pop that in there, and I can print for, you know, weeks with this thing. Nope, you have to use these little cartridges out of the box. When you upgrade the firmware, it doesn't care about that. I can hook up whatever filament I want. It doesn't even check for the cartridge. Now, the fact that they have these proprietary cartridges and that they want to charge you money for it and stuff doesn't bother me nearly as much as the problems they have with this system. Now, let me tell you, this is probably the biggest reason, the biggest incentive for me to delete and remove the firmware that was on there and put the Repetier firmware on there. Why? Because, okay, so when these cartridges are sitting in the printer will move around and stuff, and it moves around all the time, and sometimes it tends to shake the cartridge a little bit, or it'll pull on the filament, and what will happen is the little chip that's down there might wiggle a little bit, and it will break the contact, maybe just for a freaking microsecond, you know? I mean, you gotta understand, this extruder is going around in the printer, pulling on this damn thing, and it's wiggling the cartridge around while it's printing. Well, also, while it's printing, it's always constantly looking for this chip to make sure that you're not screwing with the filament, and to make sure that it's logging all the filament that you use so that they can get their money when you have to buy a new cartridge, right? Well, the problem is, if it ever shakes it loose enough, or if it ever breaks contact just for a second, it stops your print. It says, there's a cartridge error. Okay, now, that's kind of annoying, because you're printing, nothing's wrong with the printer, it's printing fine, nothing's wrong at all. It's perfectly capable of continuing to print. But it stops because there's a cartridge error, because the thing wiggled, right? Because the little chip lost the contact, which has nothing to do at all with the printing. Okay? Now, it doesn't end there. If you thought that was annoying, you can't resume the print once it stops. So if you printed this huge, massive thing that took 10 hours to print, and then all of a sudden, you know, it wiggles this thing just at the right angle, and you're at like 90% done, you're screwed. You can't resume it. It doesn't give you the option to resume it. It says printer, you know, it says like cartridge error, you know, and it gives you a little error code. And then it says your only option is like OK or cancel print. And either way, it doesn't resume the print. It just stops. It's just like all hell is, you're screwed. You're over. So that just pissed me off, because that's the reason the example print that it comes with didn't finish. Half the prints I printed never finished printing. It wouldn't fully print what I wanted it to print because of the stupid firmware that's on there looking for the cartridges, you know, because it always would wiggle it and it would stop the print. So that was incredibly annoying. So the printer, I gotta say, if XYZprinting ever sees this video, one thing you guys gotta do, at least fix that. Fix your software a lot, because it sucks. The printer itself is a great printer. The hardware, everything is fantastic. It's flawless. It really is. It's a really good printer. I love the thing, but the firmware just sucks. It really kills the whole thing, and it blows. But if you guys are comfortable upgrading the firmware on it, I would say it's more than worth it. This printer is amazing what it can do. The printer is a really good printer. It prints high quality. It prints, you know, it really unlocks what the printer is capable of. So that's my opinions on the printer. Great printer, crappy firmware. I don't know much about the company. I don't know how long they've been around for or anything about them. I don't know, you know, I just found it and saw it as a really good deal. It looked like a decently nice printer, and saw other videos kind of explaining it, but never really an in-depth one like this. So that's kind of why I'm here, to help you guys out. So anyways, with all that rambling on, you know, let's get into this thing. I'm going to kind of do just a quick little walk around. We'll look at it up close, and then we'll go ahead and print something on it. And I'll show you guys the Repetier software briefly real quick. I don't want to get into in-depth in that, but that's enough rambling on for this part of the video. I mean, I know it's kind of long, but if you guys are looking to invest $500 into a printer, you might want a review like this. You know, you might want to watch a video like this. I know I would. So anyways, that's enough for this part. Let's get on to the next part. Alright, so here are some prints that I have printed with it. Let's start with this. So we have a couple of iPhone cases here, you know. I mean, it does really good printing. Let me get some really up close shots of this. Let me see some light over here. Anyways, that's the infill on this one. I think I did this one with the I'm not sure which firmware. One of these was printed. I think this one was printed with the Repetier host firmware, not the XYZ printing firmware. I'm not sure, but anyway. So yeah, that's an iPhone case. It's an iPhone 5. I would put my phone in here, but I realized once I printed it that it's actually an iPhone 5C case, so it's not gonna fit my phone actually, unfortunately. But anyways. I have the same thing here. It was printed with the, so this was printed with the XYZ printing firmware. We can see there. It's pretty nice. I mean, it's really good quality. Look at the layers in there. You know, a blemish there, a little bit of a blemish. I mean, it has to, with a hole like that, a big huge gap, it's hard not to make a mistake, especially with as slow as it was printing with the stock firmware. I mean, it's hard not to have something like that, but that's no big deal. It's not like it was a huge major issue. Anyway, let's keep going. Again, this is like the first thing I ever printed. It was supposed to be a lot bigger and a lot taller, but it never made it. Again, like I explained, the cartridge air bull crap. But anyway, so it looks pretty good. Here's the XYZ keychain that I already showed you guys, and here's one of my more prized possessions. It's a J1772 electric car connector, so I can hold. It's like a little holster, so I can screw that into my wall and plug the J1772 outlet in there for my electric car. And my dad's electric car, he has one too. I already printed it. It's actually mounted on the wall in the garage, but so yeah, you guys might not even know what the hell that is, but it actually fit first try. It was amazing. It fit both times first try. I didn't have to file anything out, scrape anything out, smooth anything out. It worked perfectly. And this is like 100% solid. Look at how thin these layers are. I wish I could, I don't know how well I can show this, but gosh, I mean, it really printed it amazingly. Amazing quality. Like, and this is printed with the Repetier host firmware. We can set the way it prints, the infill and everything, the concentric infill. I don't even know what settings I used on this, but I know it was 100% solid, or 90%, one of them. Anyway, so yeah, that's another print that this thing is printed. So I've done not a ton of prints, but enough to get to know the printer. So anyways, another thing I hated about the stock firmware, as soon as you'd open up that cover while it was printing, nope, you know, it would stop printing, which was really annoying, because sometimes you might want to see what the hell's going on while it's printing, you know. You might want to have a view of it, or you may want to intervene with it. Be careful when you do that, but you might want to, you know, pick that off or whatever, you know, if something's there that's in the way, or a little speck of dust, or, you know, or a little piece of plastic that might have potential to mess up your print. You might want to sneak in here real quick and like pick it off. Well, you can't do that. You can have this door open with a stock firmware, but you cannot have this door open. Now that's an easy modification. If you did want to modify it, you can just, you know, stick something in the little switch, the sensor switch for that, and it would be fine, and it wouldn't know if it was open or not. But anyway, so here we go. This is it. One other thing I gotta say, the only bad thing about this printer, even with no matter what firmware you have, and this is something I'm still trying to investigate into, is, and this is not with this printer in particular, I'm sure it's with all printers, it doesn't stick to the bed as good as I would like it to. You know, I'm using these little Elmer's glue sticks after it ran out of the glue that came with it. And I mean, it seems to work, but after a while, it always will start to lift off the bed, just a hair amount, and it, you know, it just kind of bothers me. I mean, it doesn't really affect the print. As long as it sticks in the first layer, it's usually pretty good. But once it starts building, eventually it'll be way up here printing, and I'll start to see the bottom start to peel off a little bit off the bed, and it bothers the hell out of me. I don't know. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't really affect the print much, but you know, it might in ways you can't see. But yeah, if you guys have any better methods of actually making it stick, let me know for sure in the comments. But yeah, sometimes it has problems sticking to the bed, but most of the time it's okay. It's just more of a thing that I don't like, because it just pops off the bed and it's annoying. I hate it. So sick, guys, sorry. there's a white ABS cartridge that came with it. Here's a perfect example of the chip that's in there. So yes, if you were printing with the stock firmware, if you even opened up this cover, it would stop printing, and if you pulled out the cartridge, by God, you wouldn't even be able to print with this thing. No way. So with the Repetier firmware, we can do whatever we want. We can open up the cover. I can pull the damn cartridge out. I don't even need a cartridge in here. I can put a spool on this thing, and it will print with it. So that's what's nice about it. So I mean, there's not much to show you guys. I mean, it's just a 3D printer, you know. X axis, Y axis, and the Z is the bed. It has this little thing here. Yeah, what you guys heard was this little thing it has to clean itself. It will go back and forth across that right there to it will go back and forth across that to just clear all the excess oozing filaments out before it prints. I find that a pretty useful feature, but it doesn't do that in the Repetier host firmware, unfortunately, because it doesn't know it's printing on this printer. Anyways, it has limit switches. I think they're like little infrared sensors. They're not actual buttons. They're not actual tactical buttons or anything. But there's a limit switch right there for the Z-axis. There's I don't know where the rest of them are. I have spotted them before, but I don't know where they are off the top of my head. But there are limit switches for each axis on this printer. Can't really see them right now, but I promise you there are. I don't know where they are off the top of my head, but I did spot them all one time. So it does have limit switches everywhere. So you don't have to worry about the thing blowing up if you put the Repetier host firmware on it and like killing itself because it goes past its limits. It has limit switches. It knows when to stop. So that's what's really good. I mean, like I said, the hardware on here is amazingly robust. It is very nice. Can't buy any replacement parts though, guys. You cannot buy any replacement parts for it. Well, you might be able to buy them, but they're not like, you know, XYZprinting does not sell them to you. So, anyways, yeah, so when you get it, you know, you get this, you get the USB cable, and it has an SD card in it. It does have an SD card, which you cannot use with the stock firmware. It has the example prints on it, and that's it. With the Repetier host firmware, I can upload and delete and everything from it through the USB cable, and I can actually print without the computer even on. So I can upload with the Repetier host firmware the file, the actual G-code, to the SD card on the printer and print it all from the printer without ever having to use my computer besides to download the file onto the SD card. So that's very nice. The SD card in here is not easily accessible. That's a whole nother video. I'll show that to you guys probably when I make a video on how to upgrade the firmware on here. But yes, it does have an SD card in it. So, I mean, I don't know what else there is to show you. There's not much else to really show you on this thing. I wish I could show it to you with stock firmware just to show you guys how crappy it is, but I don't have it on there, and it'd be too much work to actually put it on there. I don't want to even have to think about that stuff again, the firmware, the stock firmware. But anyways, so I don't know what the hell that was from. Oh, it was from the outer, the first little print it does of the last print I made. Anyways, so let's go ahead and I'll fire this baby up, and we'll go ahead and start printing something on it, and I'll give you guys a quick little video of it printing. I think that's just about everything I could cover on it. It's just, like I said, just a little review explaining everything on it. Another thing, to clean off the bed, it cleans very beautifully every time. Just use a little cloth like this, or just any type of a cloth. Get a little damp cloth. I heat the bed up to 55 degrees Celsius, which you can't do with the stock firmware. If you have the Repetier host firmware, you heat that baby up to 55. It gets just a little warm, and get a damp rag like this, wipe it off. All the glue, all the residue, everything just comes right off, and it's like shiny. Like you can use the glass as a mirror. It's like perfect every time. So that's an easy way to clean off the bed on this thing. So that's pretty much it for this. Let's go ahead and fire this baby up and get her printing. Alright fellas, so we got this thing ready to go. She's rolling here. Let's see, so we got basically, I'm just going to print this monster logo real quick because it's something that'll print pretty quick, and it actually looks pretty cool. I have green filament for it, so, you know, it's a 0.3 millimeter height resolution, so it's not incredibly accurate, but it doesn't need to be, and it should print pretty fast. I might do a time-lapse of her printing to do the whole thing, but anyway, so everything's heated up. We're ready to go. It'll print like instantly as soon as I hit print. The axis is homed. There is a little bit of a filament actually hanging out there, which I'm going to go ahead and clear that real quick right before we print. Let me get that crap off there. It'll mess up your print if you don't get it off of there. Like I said, the stock firmware will usually take care of that for you with its whole little mechanism it's got here, but with the new firmware it doesn't do that. Not much of a loss, but you know, it's something you lose when you upgrade the firmware. It's pretty easy to clean yourself though. So it's already been sliced and everything. This is the slice preview. This is what it's going to look like. This is the STL here, the actual STL. Anyway, here we go. It's 30% solid, so it's going to have a little bit of a concentric filling. She's going right now, so let's go ahead. It's taking care of everything. Sounds amazing too, by the way. This printer sounds awesome when it prints. It's a little bright. Let me take the brightness down. So there it goes. Prints the first layer pretty slow all the time, as I think most 3D printers do. You know, it's got a stick on there. You know, the first layer is what really counts. It's the foundation for the whole thing. You know, so it usually prints pretty slow anyways. But once it gets going, it sounds amazing. So anyways, we got her all the way open. We're using some of that filament from the spool down there, if you can see it. Yes, it is just laying on my floor. That's bad practice. You shouldn't do that. You don't want to get like dust and crap in there, but you know, that's all we got for right now. I'm kind of lazy. There it goes. So, you know, and it should be. It hasn't been working recently, but with Repetier Host, I probably screwed up a setting or something. It'll usually show you in real time where it's at on the print, on the screen here. So this is when it goes to the screen, it'll show you in real time what's going on. But yeah, it hasn't been working recently, but it used to work, so. The first layer on this is 0.4 millimeters in height. Kind of boring. I know it's kind of slow right now. I'll probably skip this part of the video till it gets cranking away. Alright, so here it goes. It's doing the last infill of the first layer, and it's about to start cranking away. So there it goes. It's got amazing accuracy. I mean, it prints incredibly well. You know, it's out of the box. This thing is just tuned to the best. You know, it's like you don't have to calibrate it. You don't have to do crap. This thing works beautifully. For $500, it's a steal of the century. It's a really good buy. You know, the printer is amazing. I would highly recommend this printer to anyone. Listen to it. Sounds freaking awesome, right? Sounds like some robot from like Star Wars or something, you know. Sounds like R2-D2. Estimated time at this point is 29 minutes, 29 seconds. Those are the axes in real time, all their positions. You know, I mean, not in exact time. You know, it doesn't update them like as fast as it moves, but pretty quick. And you can also flip the screen to like temperature and stuff like that. Anyway, and this is of course is the Repetier firmware. It's not the stock. So stock is kind of similar. It shows the time and I think the temperature and stuff like that. I don't know what else it showed. Anyway, that's that view. Let's get a little top view again. And those little holes that we saw in the bottom of the logo, those are normal. It's part of its fill pattern. As you can see, it filled it in right there, but it's not, you know, it's not a solid piece. So it's the way that the that I sliced it. It is supposed to look like that. That's not like an error or anything, but it's kind of hard to see because it's not that big of a piece, and the extruder is almost covering the whole thing at all times. But there it is. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna show the whole thing, the whole part printing, but and I was gonna do a time lapse, but there's not much of a time lapse to see. It's just gonna keep going over the whole thing until it's a little bit thicker. That's pretty much the whole thing. In fact, I could stop printing it right now, and that's a monster logo for you right there. But so yeah, I mean, overall, I'd say the printer is a fantastic printer, well worth the money. I highly recommend it. If you're just getting into 3D printing, it's great. You know, just go ahead and look into upgrading the firmware. Don't be afraid to do it. It's not that hard to do. I highly recommend just, you know, get this printer, play around with the firmware it comes with, find out that you don't like it, and then put the Repetier host firmware on it, and then you'll love the thing, and it works fantastic. And I'll make a new video, a whole another video on how to actually upgrade the firmware on it. Like I said, you can do it incredibly quickly. It's easy to do. There are videos that show how complex it is, but it's actually, there's a really easy way to do it. So that's pretty much it for the whole review of this thing. If you guys have any more questions or anything you want to see on the printer, I mean, I don't know if there's not really much else to show you. There's the sides, power, USB, you know, that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any more questions, concerns, anything you want to know about the thing, go ahead and shoot them down in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to cover whatever I missed. So, hope you guys enjoyed it, and like always, guys, have a good one.